The mysterious signal. The year was 2057, and Earth had come far from its days of interstellar silence. Humanity now existed in a vast network of advanced technology, curiosity pushing the boundaries of what was once thought impossible. Galactic communication stations buzzed with signals and messages, a constant hum of distant worlds reaching out across space. Most were routine transmissions, scientific data, diplomatic gestures, exchanges between allies, explorers' reports. But one day, something unusual broke the rhythm. A signal arrived that would change humanity's course forever. At first, the signal was faint, nearly lost amid the clutter of cosmic noise. It flickered in and out, an elusive message hidden within layers of static. The communication stations monitoring Earth's borders dismissed it as interference. But the signal was persistent, repeating itself, insisting on being heard. It wasn't long before scientists took notice, their curiosity piqued by the rhythmic patterns hidden in the noise. After further investigation, they realized that the signal was like nothing they had ever encountered. A team of Earth's brightest linguists, scientists, and data analysts was assembled, their mission clear: to crack the code. Hours melted into days, and the mystery deepened as they tried to decipher symbols and sounds that felt alien yet somehow deliberate. Patterns emerged slowly, meticulously, like pieces of a puzzle coming together in the dim light of understanding. Each new discovery added to the gravity of what they were uncovering, a call for help, desperate and pleading. Then one day, the team cracked the heart of the message, and what it revealed left them speechless. "Help us survive. Send us your mails." The words were unsettling, their implications staggering. The message came from a civilization known as the Elra, a race of beings on the brink of extinction. Their society was composed entirely of women, a fact that defied everything humanity knew about reproduction and biology. As Earth's experts learned, the Elra had once thrived, but now their numbers dwindled. Their ancient methods of reproduction had failed them, and now, with no male presence, their future was in jeopardy. News of the Elra's plea spread across Earth like wildfire. Governments, scientists, philosophers, and ordinary people alike grappled with questions they had never before considered. The world was flooded with debates, opinions, and emotions that ranged from wonder to dread. Could humans answer such a call? Did they have a moral duty to help? Or was there danger lurking behind the plea of this alien race? The United Nations General Assembly convened an emergency session, the halls filled with voices that usually discussed global peace and international relations. This time, however, the discussions were about survival, ethics, and humanity's place in the galaxy. The decision weighed heavily on every delegate's mind. Some saw the Elra's plea as a call to unite two civilizations, a chance to extend compassion beyond Earth's borders. Others, however, hesitated, fearing the unknown risks that such cooperation might entail. After hours of debate, the Secretary-General took to the podium, his expression grave and thoughtful. "Today, we face a decision that goes beyond borders, beyond cultures. The Elra, a distant civilization, have asked for our help. Their future hangs in the balance, and our response could be the key to their survival. But we must approach this mission with caution, wisdom, and a sense of responsibility." As he spoke, images of the Elra women appeared on the screens throughout the assembly hall. Tall and graceful, their skin was a vibrant emerald hue, their eyes a haunting shade of violet that seemed to glow with an inner light. They were breathtaking, but their beauty carried a sense of sadness, a hint of their silent struggle. These images resonated with humanity's empathy, reminding everyone present that these were not just extraterrestrial beings, they were sentient, intelligent lives in desperate need. The debate continued for hours. Some argued passionately that helping the Elra could be an act of unparalleled compassion, a bridge between worlds. Others worried about the unknowns. What if the Elra had hidden motives? What if interspecies reproduction carried unforeseen consequences? Amidst the debates, scientists brought their expertise to bear, explaining that the Elra's genetic structure was compatible in ways that were both astonishing and concerning. As the arguments unfolded, the world held its breath, waiting for a resolution. It was in this tense atmosphere that a few extraordinary individuals emerged, volunteers willing to answer the Elra's call. These were not ordinary people but pioneers, adventurers, scientists, and soldiers who felt a pull to venture into the unknown, to be a part of something that would forever alter the course of history. Among the volunteers was Dr. Isaac Moore, a renowned geneticist with a knack for thinking beyond the boundaries of traditional science. Known for his groundbreaking work in human genetics, Isaac had spent his life exploring the very essence of life and evolution. To him, the Elra's plea was a unique challenge, a chance to push his work to the farthest reaches of his imagination. Then there was Captain James "Jax" Harding, a seasoned astronaut and former military pilot. He had traveled to the farthest corners of Earth's galaxy and seen sights that few could imagine, yet the call from the Elra stirred something deep within him. Jax was a man of action, and the thought of venturing to an alien world to help save a civilization reignited a passion for discovery he hadn't felt in years. Alongside them was Matt Alvarez, a linguist and cultural anthropologist whose fascination with alien civilizations had led him to study everything humanity knew about extraterrestrial life. For Matt, the mission was not just about genetics. It was a rare opportunity to bridge the gap between two worlds, to learn and understand a new culture. He believed that in helping the Elra, humanity might learn something profound about itself. As the names of these volunteers circulated, the world watched in anticipation. For the people of Earth, this mission was not just about saving another race. It was a test of humanity's compassion, courage, and unity. Could they overcome their fears and differences to extend a hand to a distant civilization? In the days that followed, the United Nations finalized its decision. The Secretary-General stood once more before the world, his voice steady but filled with solemnity. We have weighed the risks and considered the consequences. Humanity has chosen to answer the Elra's call. We will send a team of volunteers to represent us, not as conquerors, but as ambassadors of hope and unity. The decision marked the beginning of a new era. As the volunteers prepared for the journey of a lifetime, they knew that this mission would be unlike anything they had ever faced. They were about to embark on a journey across the stars to a world teetering on the edge of existence, with the fate of two civilizations hanging in the balance. The mission's departure was met with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Families and friends bid farewell. Crowds gathered in public squares to watch the event broadcast live, and the world held its breath as the spacecraft Odyssey prepared for liftoff. Sleek and state-of-the-art, the ship stood ready, its engines humming with anticipation. As the countdown reached 0, the Odyssey lifted off, soaring into the heavens. The world watched as it ascended, leaving behind the familiar blue of Earth and entering the vastness of space. This was a journey that would test the limits of human resilience, curiosity, and courage. In the silence of space, the volunteers gazed out at the stars, their minds filled with thoughts of the world they were leaving behind and the unknown that lay ahead. They knew that the decisions they would make in the coming days would shape the future, not just for themselves, but for all of humanity and the Elra. The Odyssey's journey to the distant world of Elra had begun, a journey that held the potential to change everything humanity understood about life, survival, and the power of hope. Arrival on Elra. After weeks of travel through the silent expanse of space, the Odyssey and its crew were approaching the Elra homeworld. As the spaceship neared its destination, the volunteers on board gathered on the observation deck, captivated by the mesmerizing sight of Elra appearing on the screen. Its surface glistened with shades of vibrant green, punctuated by vast shimmering rivers of blue. Elra looked like a jewel in the darkness, its beauty striking and almost surreal. The tension was palpable as the crew prepared to make first contact. Captain James "Jax" Harding, experienced in the perils of space travel, stood at the helm, his eyes fixed on the approaching planet. This was unlike any mission he had undertaken. He knew this journey would demand more from them than any previous exploration. The crew's responsibility stretched far beyond scientific discovery. They were about to become ambassadors for humanity. And as their ship descended into Elra's atmosphere, the weight of that responsibility settled on each of them. The Odyssey began its descent, the thick, green-tinged atmosphere of Elra enveloping it. As they moved closer, the crew could make out details of the landscape: towering trees with bioluminescent leaves, crystal-clear lakes that sparkled in the light of twin suns, and sprawling forests that seemed untouched by time. The planet was lush and alive, but there was a haunting stillness in the air, as though it held secrets that ran deep and ancient. "Commence landing sequence," Jax commanded, his voice calm but resolute. The ship's AI, Athena, responded immediately, guiding the Odyssey to a smooth touchdown in a designated clearing near the Elra's central settlement. The landing site was surrounded by massive trees, their green-tinted leaves swaying gently in the breeze. For a moment, there was silence as the ship powered down. Then, Jax turned to the crew and nodded, a silent acknowledgement that the moment they had all been preparing for had finally arrived. "Suit up," he ordered, donning his own protective gear with practiced precision. The other crew members followed suit, moving with a focused determination that belied the nervous excitement pulsing through them. Each suit was equipped with advanced sensors and communication devices, ensuring the crew could navigate this alien environment safely. Although the air had been deemed breathable, precautions were necessary. Elra was an uncharted world, and they were taking no chances. As the airlock doors hissed open, Jax was the first to step onto the alien soil, the soft ground giving way slightly beneath his boots. The air was thick with a mix of earthy and floral scents, a fragrance unfamiliar yet oddly welcoming. Around him, the landscape was quiet, but there was an energy in the atmosphere, a sense of life that was both intriguing and unsettling. The team moved forward, their senses heightened as they scanned the surroundings. They didn't have to wait long. Emerging from the shadows of the trees were the Elra themselves, a group of tall, elegant figures whose presence seemed to blend seamlessly with the forest. Their skin, a striking shade of emerald green, caught the light in a way that made them almost appear to glow. Their eyes, deep and intense, observed the humans with a mix of curiosity and guarded hope. At the forefront of the group stood Queen Seraphina, a figure of both grace and authority. Her gaze was steady, her expression a blend of warmth and strength. The moment her eyes met Jax's, there was an unspoken understanding between them, a silent acknowledgement of the significance of this moment. She stepped forward and, to the crew's astonishment, spoke in perfect English. "Welcome to Elra," she said, her voice melodic yet edged with gravity. "We have waited a long time for this day." Jax inclined his head in respect. "Thank you, Queen Seraphina. We are honored to be here and are prepared to help in any way we can." Seraphina nodded, a faint smile gracing her lips, though her eyes held a sadness that was unmistakable. She gestured for them to follow, her movements graceful as she led them through the lush forest. The path twisted and turned, leading them deeper into the heart of the Elra settlement. The surrounding trees seemed to whisper as they passed, their leaves shimmering with faint pulses of bioluminescent light, casting an otherworldly glow over the group. After a short walk, they reached a clearing where a series of sleek, organic-looking structures rose from the earth. The architecture was seamless, blending with the natural environment as though it had grown there. Each building was made of a smooth, stone-like material covered in intricate patterns that glowed faintly in the fading light of the twin suns. The design was both alien and harmonious, a testament to the Elra's deep connection with their environment. Inside the central building, the atmosphere was cooler, filled with a delicate scent of herbs and flowers. Seraphina guided the team to a spacious room with a high ceiling and walls adorned with vibrant murals depicting scenes from Elra's history. The images spoke of a civilization that had once been prosperous and thriving, but had since fallen into a decline, its people fading with each passing generation. Seraphina led them to a circular chamber where several Elra women were already seated, their expressions a mixture of hope and apprehension. Among them were scientists, diplomats, and advisors, leaders who had dedicated themselves to saving their people. The crew took their seats around a large table made of polished stone, their minds racing with anticipation. Once everyone was settled, Serafina began to speak. "You know much of our plight, but there are truths we have yet to share," she said, her voice tinged with sorrow. "Our people have existed for centuries without males. We adapted, found ways to survive, but our ancient methods of reproduction have failed us. We are now at a point where, without your help, our extinction is inevitable." Dr. Isaac Moore leaned forward, his mind already analyzing the possibilities. "We've studied the data you provided, and it's impressive, but there are still unknowns. How certain are you that our species can merge genetically?" One of the era scientists, a woman with silver-streaked hair and wise eyes, responded, "Our research has shown that your DNA is surprisingly compatible with ours, despite the differences in our biology. With genetic engineering, we believe it's possible to create a new generation, a hybrid that will carry the legacies of both our people." The room fell silent as the weight of her words settled over them. This mission was no longer just a rescue. It was the beginning of something new, something that could redefine life on both planets. The stakes were higher than any of them had anticipated, and the journey ahead would require more than just scientific knowledge. Jax broke the silence, his voice steady but filled with determination. "We are committed to helping, but we need complete transparency. No secrets, no hidden agendas. We'll work with you, but only if there is full honesty on both sides." Serafina met his gaze, her expression resolute. "Agreed. From this moment on, we are partners, bound by a shared purpose. Our survival depends on it." The discussions continued late into the evening, both sides exchanging information, ideas, and hopes. The humans learned about the Elra's history, their struggles, and the depth of their desperation. In turn, the Elra absorbed insights into human biology, ethics, and the complexities of human resilience. Through these conversations, a sense of camaraderie began to develop, a shared determination that transcended their differences. By the time the meeting concluded, the twin suns had set, casting a gentle twilight over Elra's landscape. The crew of the Odyssey emerged from the chamber, their minds buzzing with the possibilities and challenges that lay ahead. They were no longer mere travelers in a strange land. They were allies, bound by a shared goal that transcended the stars. As the team returned to the Odyssey to rest, Jax took a moment to look up at the alien sky. The deep violet hues now sparkled with distant stars, a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the small but crucial role they played within it. He felt the weight of the mission pressing on his shoulders, but alongside that weight was a spark of hope, a belief that, against all odds, they might succeed. And so the night fell on Elra, bringing with it the dawn of a new chapter in the history of two species. This chapter would be written by the choices they made, the bonds they forged, and the courage they found within themselves to face the unknown. As they stood on the edge of possibility, they knew their journey was just beginning. The challenges ahead would test their unity, their ingenuity, and their resilience, but they were ready to face whatever lay beyond the twilight of Elra's sky. Unraveling the mystery of genetic fusion. The following day dawned with a surreal calm over the alien landscape of Elra. Twin suns rose over the horizon, casting a golden glow that filtered through the dense forest canopy, bathing everything in soft, ethereal light. The human crew of the Odyssey awoke to a renewed sense of purpose, their mission more significant than ever as they prepared to tackle the monumental task of merging two species. In the stillness of the early morning, each of them grappled with the weight of the journey ahead, their minds fixed on the possibility of forging a new future, not just for the Elra, but for humanity as well. Dr. Isaac Moore, the team's lead geneticist, began his day early, heading directly to the makeshift laboratory he had set up within one of the Elra's organic, stone-like buildings. The lab was an impressive fusion of Elra and human technology. Elra equipment hummed softly alongside Earth's advanced genetic engineering tools. The Elra had shared detailed information about their species' genetic structure, along with their own data on the attempts they had made to save themselves. But each experiment had ended in failure, their techniques unable to prevent the deterioration of their genetic stability. Their last hope lay with Isaac's team and the promise of human ingenuity. As Isaac began to delve into the genetic data, he was joined by Serafina and Lyra, one of the Elra's top scientists. Lyra had a sharp mind, her knowledge vast, but her hope seemed tempered by the burden of countless failed attempts. Together, they began discussing the intricacies of the Elra's biology. Elra DNA was resilient yet fragile, its once effective means of replication now rendering each generation weaker. There was a beauty to their genetic code, complex and elegant, but it lacked the robustness needed to sustain a species. "Your DNA has an unparalleled resilience, Dr. Moore," Lyra remarked, her voice filled with a sense of awe and melancholy. "In many ways, your biology is a marvel of adaptation. Our people could only wish for such strength." Isaac offered a small smile. "Resilience is something we've had to cultivate on Earth. Our history is full of challenges that forced us to evolve, to adapt. But resilience alone won't be enough here. We need to find a way to blend our strengths with yours without disrupting the balance of either species." The task at hand was monumental. Isaac and his team, alongside Lyra and her scientists, pored over the data, studying every sequence and comparing it to the human genome. The lab was silent except for the hum of machines and the occasional murmured discussion. Hours turned into days as the team worked tirelessly, meticulously testing different approaches to stabilize the Elra's genetic makeup with the addition of human DNA. As they analyzed each new sequence, they began to notice patterns, similarities that hinted at a possible pathway. They realized that the Elra's gene for resilience was weakened, but it could be reinforced with a unique human gene related to cellular regeneration. It was a breakthrough, a glimmer of hope in an otherwise dim landscape. Isaac knew they were on the verge of something profound, yet fragile, and that every step had to be carefully calculated. Outside the lab, Captain Jax Harding spent his days observing the Elra Society and keeping close contact with the crew. Each day, he accompanied Serafina as she showed him the heart of their civilization. Elra was a world rich with life, its people connected to their surroundings in ways that Earthlings had lost over centuries of industrialization. The Elra's homes were built seamlessly into the landscape, their structures as organic as the trees that surrounded them. Every aspect of their lives was a testament to their harmony with nature, but this harmony had come at a cost. The Elra had devoted so much of themselves to their environment that they had lost the drive to innovate, leaving them vulnerable to the slow decline that now threatened their existence. During one of their walks through the Elra settlement, Serafina confided in Jax. "Our people once believed we were chosen to protect and nurture this world. We believed our way of life will ensure balance and harmony. But we've realized too late that without progress, even harmony can lead to ruin." Jax nodded, feeling a deep respect for her honesty. "On Earth, we've always been driven by survival and progress, sometimes at the cost of our connection to nature. Maybe together we can find a balance, a way to blend our strengths and overcome our weaknesses." Serafina looked at him, her eyes reflecting the weight of her people's plight. "That is our hope, Jax. To find a way forward that honors both our worlds." Meanwhile, Matt Alvarez, the linguist and anthropologist, was immersed in understanding the cultural underpinnings of the Elra. As he studied their society, he uncovered layers of tradition, stories, and values that had sustained them for centuries. The Elra placed immense importance on kinship and unity. Every individual was connected to a larger purpose, a shared goal of preserving life. Yet, Matt noticed an undercurrent of despair that ran through their songs and stories, a silent acknowledgement of their fading numbers. In one conversation, Matt spoke with an Elra historian, Lyra, who shared a poignant story. "Once we had songs that celebrated new life, songs of birth and growth. Now we sing of remembrance, of the lives that came before. Our music has become a mourning ritual, a tribute to a future we may never see." Her words struck Matt deeply, reminding him of the gravity of their mission. This was more than science. It was about preserving a culture, a way of life that would be lost forever if they failed. Days passed, and the human crew continued their work with relentless determination. The genetic trials advanced slowly, each attempt bringing them closer to a viable fusion. But the process was not without setbacks. Unexpected mutations, genetic instability, and incompatibility between the two species made every success feel precarious, fragile. Isaac felt the pressure mounting with each failed trial, each reminder of how delicate this fusion was. Then, one night, after an exhausting day of testing and recalibrating, Isaac had a breakthrough. A single trial, a complex combination of human and Elra genes targeting cellular regeneration, showed promising results. The Elra DNA began to stabilize, the markers for resilience stronger than before. It was a small victory, but in the face of constant challenges, it felt monumental. Isaac called a meeting with the crew and the Elra leaders. As he explained the significance of the breakthrough, a sense of hope filled the room. For the first time, they could envision a future where the Elra might survive, where a hybrid generation could carry the legacies of both species. Jax, always pragmatic, raised a cautionary point. "This is just one trial. We still have a long way to go before we can confirm it's safe." Isaac nodded, his excitement tempered by his sense of responsibility. "You're right, Jax. We're not there yet, but it's a step in the right direction. We'll need to conduct more tests, ensure stability across multiple trials. It's a delicate process, and we have to proceed with the utmost caution." Seraphina's voice broke through the tension, filled with quiet gratitude. "This is more hope than we've had in generations. We trust you, and we believe in your commitment to helping us. Whatever comes next, we are prepared to face it with you." The days that followed were filled with a renewed sense of purpose. The crew of the Odyssey worked side by side with the Elra, conducting trials, analyzing data, and adjusting protocols to ensure that every variable was accounted for. As the experiments progressed, so did the bond between the two species. The barriers that once separated them, differences in culture, language, biology, began to fade, replaced by a shared determination to overcome the odds. Finally, after weeks of tireless effort, Isaac and Lyra achieved a breakthrough. They had created a genetic sequence that stabilized across multiple trials, one that held the potential to be the foundation of a viable hybrid generation. The room filled with a sense of triumph, a victory hard-won and deeply cherished. They had taken the first real step towards saving the Elra, toward creating a future where both species could coexist and thrive. As the day came to a close, the human crew gathered with the Elra in a quiet clearing, sharing a rare moment of celebration. Jax looked around at his fellow crew members, at Seraphina and her people, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for the journey they had undertaken together. This mission had started as a desperate plea from a distant world, but it had transformed into something far more profound, a testament to the resilience and unity of life itself. The evening sky was alive with the glow of twin suns setting over Elra's verdant horizon. For the first time since their arrival, the crew felt a glimmer of certainty that they were on the path to success. As they stood together under the vast alien sky, they knew that the journey ahead would still be filled with challenges, but they were ready, bound by a shared purpose and the hope that their efforts would be the bridge between two worlds. And as the stars began to dot the sky, they each felt that they were part of something larger, a story that had only just begun. Trials of trust and discovery. Weeks passed on Elra, and the collaborative efforts between the human crew and the Elra scientists continued, each day bringing them closer to their goal. Despite the challenges, the air was thick with a sense of urgency and shared purpose. Yet, as progress advanced, the complexities and stakes of the mission deepened, revealing truths that neither the Elra nor the human crew had anticipated. Dr. Isaac Moore led the intensive trials in the lab, testing and retesting the hybrid genetic sequence that he and Lyra had developed. Each successful replication felt like a fragile victory. The process was complicated by the fact that even slight alterations could destabilize the sequence, a reminder of just how delicate the fusion of their two species truly was. Isaac and Lyra were joined daily by Elra and human scientists, working side by side, united by a common mission that transcended the boundaries of their worlds. In the silence of the lab one evening, Isaac noticed Lyra looking thoughtfully at the holographic display of the hybrid gene sequence. Her eyes held a mixture of hope and something unspoken, a hesitation he hadn't seen before. "Is everything all right, Lyra?" he asked, sensing her unease. Lyra looked at him, her expression shifting from distant to intense. "It's just, we're so close, but this process, this fusion, it's different from anything our people have ever experienced. We've never had to depend on anyone outside our world to survive. For so long, we believed that we were meant to be self-sufficient, that our harmony with Elra would sustain us. But now, everything we thought we knew is changing." Isaac nodded, understanding her inner conflict. Change can be difficult, even painful, but sometimes it's the only path forward. On Earth, humanity has faced countless challenges that forced us to evolve, to work together, even with those we once saw as different or distant. I think this journey, ours and yours, is about more than just survival. It's about growth, about embracing the unknown and trusting that together, we can overcome it. Lyra's face softened, and a quiet resolve replaced her doubt. "You're right. Our people must learn to accept that we can't walk this path alone anymore." The next morning, Captain Jax Harding and Queen Seraphina led the crew on a tour of the Era's heartland, a place rarely seen by outsiders. It was a realm of breathtaking beauty, a vast green valley bordered by mountains with silver peaks that glittered in the twin suns' light. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of fresh vegetation and a trace of something floral. As they walked through the valley, the crew marveled at the landscape. Even after weeks on Elra, the planet's natural beauty continued to astound them. Seraphina shared stories of her people's past, tales of resilience and reverence for their environment. The Elra's deep bond with nature had given them an extraordinary understanding of their planet's ecosystem, but it had also fostered a sense of isolation that now felt like a double-edged sword. In their effort to protect Elra, they had cut themselves off from the universe, unable to adapt when crisis struck. As they reached the edge of a crystalline lake, Seraphina stopped, her gaze fixed on the water's surface. "This is where my ancestors once gathered, believing that the reflection of the twin suns was a symbol of eternal balance," she said softly. "Now, as I look at it, I see something else, a reminder that without adaptability, even balance can lead to stagnation. We need the strength of change." Jax, standing beside her, nodded thoughtfully. "Change doesn't mean losing who you are. It's about bringing in new ideas, new perspectives, without losing sight of your roots. Sometimes, embracing others can make you stronger." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Matt Alvarez, who had been spending his days immersed in the study of Elra's culture. Matt's face was alight with excitement, holding a data pad filled with translations and interpretations of ancient Elra texts. Over the past weeks, he had uncovered layers of cultural nuances and unspoken beliefs that were integral to the Era's identity, and he believed these findings could be key to understanding the larger implications of the hybrid project. "Seraphina, Jax," Matt said eagerly, "there's something you both need to see. I found references in ancient texts to a ritual, something the Elra once performed to signify union and trust between tribes. It was called Yelara, meaning the bond of stars. From what I've translated, it seems this ritual symbolized a shared journey, two entities becoming one while honoring their individual identities." Seraphina's eyes widened with recognition. "Yes, the Yelara. It is an ancient tradition, nearly forgotten in recent generations. Perhaps it is time to revive it, to remind our people of what it means to be interconnected yet distinct." The idea resonated with both crews, and plans began to form for a symbolic ceremony to mark the progress they had made together. The Yalara ritual would not just be a gesture, it would be a promise, a commitment to the future they were building together. Over the following days, the Elra gathered ceremonial materials, translucent stones that captured the twin suns' light, woven fabrics in vibrant shades, and fragrant herbs meant to signify new beginnings. As the ceremony preparations took shape, Isaac and Lyra continued their work in the lab. The hybrid genetic sequence was now stable, but the final step remained: testing it in a controlled simulation. This would be the ultimate trial, the moment that would determine whether the sequence could create viable, healthy life. Both scientists were aware that this trial carried the weight of the mission's success or failure. In the quiet of the lab, Isaac set up the simulation with painstaking care, his hands steady but his heart pounding with anticipation. Lyra watched closely, her own emotions a mix of hope and trepidation. The simulation began, and they both held their breath as the virtual cell division unfolded on the screen. It was slow, each cell replicating with a precision that felt both miraculous and precarious. But as the sequence progressed, the cells remained stable, dividing and replicating without signs of genetic degradation. After what felt like hours, the simulation completed successfully, the data indicating a breakthrough. Lyra let out a gasp, her hand flying to her mouth in disbelief. Isaac's face broke into a rare smile, his eyes reflecting a mixture of triumph and relief. They had done it. That evening, the Yalara ritual was held under the open sky, with both crews and Elra citizens gathered around a ceremonial fire. The atmosphere was electric, charged with the anticipation of what this ritual would mean for their future. Matt explained the significance of the Yalara ritual to the human crew, emphasizing that it was a symbolic merging of spirits, a vow of trust and cooperation. Seraphina, dressed in flowing garments adorned with symbols of her people, stood before the fire, her voice carrying across the gathering. "Tonight, we honor the bond we have forged," she began, her words infused with solemnity and hope. "We stand together as allies, as partners. The Yalara is not just a ritual, it is a promise. A promise that we will face the unknown together, that we will trust each other, even in the face of fear." Jax, Isaac, Matt, and the other human crew members stepped forward, each of them carrying a piece of the ceremonial stone, its surface shimmering in the firelight. They placed their stones alongside those of the Elra leaders, creating a circle around the fire, a symbol of unity and shared purpose. As the flames danced, the gathered crowd fell silent, absorbing the gravity of the moment. As the ceremony concluded, the humans and Elra alike felt a renewed sense of purpose, the weight of their mission now balanced by the strength of their bond. This was no longer a journey about survival alone. It was a journey about discovery, about redefining what it meant to be alive in the vastness of the universe. In the days that followed, the final preparations for the hybrid project began. Isaac and Lyra set up the last of the trial protocols, preparing to move from simulation to real-world application. The Elra and human crews worked seamlessly together, each step taken with caution and respect. The gravity of the situation was never lost on anyone, yet there was a quiet sense of confidence now, a belief that they could succeed, that their combined strengths could indeed bring forth a new generation. But as they prepared for the final phase, they knew that challenges would still lie ahead. The fusion of two species, each with its own strengths and vulnerabilities, would require more than science. It would demand understanding, patience, and a willingness to navigate uncharted territory. For now, though, they had taken the first steps toward building a bridge between worlds. As the Odyssey crew looked out over the Elra landscape, they felt the significance of this mission more deeply than ever before. Their journey had begun with a plea for help, but it had transformed into a shared quest for a future where differences were celebrated, where trust became the foundation of survival. And as the crew prepared for the next phase of their mission, they did so with a sense of unity, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. The stars above Elra shone brightly that night, as if bearing witness to the beginning of a story that had no end, a story of resilience, of hope, and of the unbreakable bond forged between two worlds, the genesis of hope. The air on Elra was charged with anticipation as the final phase of the hybrid project approached. After months of relentless work, setbacks, and breakthroughs, the team stood on the threshold of what could be one of the most profound achievements in galactic history. Yet, the crew of the Odyssey and the Elra leaders knew that this last step would test not only their scientific expertise, but their resilience, their trust, and their faith in a future they could only imagine. Dr. Isaac Moore and Lyra, the Elra geneticist, began their morning in the lab, preparing for the culmination of their work. The task before them was clear yet daunting: to initiate the first trial using the hybrid genetic sequence on a viable cell. Unlike the controlled simulations, this experiment would use real Elra biological material, a leap into the unknown where each step could yield either life or irrevocable loss. Isaac's movements were precise, his expression focused, masking the nerves churning beneath his steady exterior. For Lyra, this was not only a scientific endeavor, but a deeply personal one. The success of this project represented the survival of her people, a chance for Elra's legacy to endure through the generations. The two scientists worked in silence, their shared determination unspoken but palpable. Finally, the moment arrived. Isaac's fingers hovered over the control panel, the final step in the cell fusion sequence one press away. He looked at Lyra, who gave him a nod, her face a mixture of hope and tension. Together, they initiated the sequence. The lab's holographic display pulsed to life, showing the hybrid cell beginning its division process. They both held their breath as the cell divided, their eyes locked on the data streaming across the screen. For a few agonizing seconds, the cell appeared stable, replicating as expected, but then a red alert flashed, an indicator of genetic destabilization. Isaac's stomach dropped, and he quickly paused the sequence to run diagnostics. It was a setback, and yet, as they analyzed the data, they noticed something remarkable. The fusion process had advanced further than any previous trial. Despite the temporary failure, this was the closest they had come to a successful, stable fusion. Isaac turned to Lyra, a faint smile breaking through his focus. "We're close, closer than we've ever been. The foundation is strong. We just need to refine the stability factors." Lyra exhaled, her relief evident. "We can do this, Isaac. For the first time, I truly believe we can." Word of their progress spread quickly, filling the Elra settlement with cautious optimism. Outside the lab, Captain Jax Harding and Queen Seraphina prepared for a series of meetings with the crew and Elra advisors to ensure that the logistics of the hybrid integration were fully understood by both teams. As Jax looked over the gathered Elra and humans, he felt a surge of pride. This journey, fraught with uncertainty and risk, had become something extraordinary, a testament to the strength that lay in unity and cooperation. Before the meeting began, Seraphina addressed the assembled group. Her presence was calm, commanding a beacon of strength for her people. "We stand on the edge of a new beginning. What we achieve here today will be remembered as a moment when two worlds came together not out of necessity alone, but out of mutual respect and shared purpose. Let us honor this opportunity by acting with wisdom, with courage, and with humility." Jax felt a swell of admiration for her words, his own determination bolstered. "We're not just creating a hybrid," he added, addressing both crews. "We're forging a bond that will redefine what it means to be part of a larger universe. This mission isn't just about survival. It's about setting an example of how two civilizations can rise above their limitations and find strength in each other." As the meeting continued, the crews discussed contingency plans, protocols for the hybrid's development, and the roles that each person would play in monitoring the trial's progress. Every detail was meticulously examined. They all understood that, should the fusion succeed, the hybrid offspring would be the first of its kind, a being born from two distinct species, carrying the essence of both. That evening, the Elra held a celebration in honor of the human crew. It was a rare occasion for the Elra, who traditionally held solemn rituals but rarely indulged in revelry. However, the joy among the people was undeniable, a spark of hope that had been absent for generations. The celebration took place under the twin suns, which cast a warm glow over the valley. Elra musicians played hauntingly beautiful melodies on instruments crafted from natural materials, and Elra dancers performed movements that told stories of their ancestors, tales of resilience and survival. As Jax watched the celebration unfold, he felt a deep sense of belonging, as though the crew of the Odyssey had become more than visitors on this distant planet. They had become part of the Elra's story. He glanced around at his crew, each one immersed in the experience, their faces alight with wonder and pride. For Matt Alvarez, who had dedicated his life to understanding alien cultures, this moment was the realization of a dream, a true connection with a civilization so different yet so deeply relatable. In the midst of the celebration, Serafina approached Jax, a gentle smile on her face. "Your people have given us hope where we had nearly lost it. This journey, with all its risks and uncertainties, has brought a light to our world." Jax nodded, humbled. "And yours has shown us that resilience comes in many forms. We may have brought technology, but you've shown us the strength of spirit." The festivities continued late into the night, and as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, the valley was bathed in the soft glow of bioluminescent plants, casting a tranquil, dreamlike atmosphere over the gathering. For the Elra, this night marked a turning point, a bridge between their past and the uncertain, hopeful future they were building. The following morning, Isaac and Lyra returned to the lab with renewed determination. After analyzing the data from the previous trial, they made a series of adjustments to the stabilization factors, refining the hybrid's cellular structure. The process was intricate, requiring precision beyond anything they had encountered before. As they worked, both scientists felt a sense of synergy, their minds aligned on the shared goal. At last, they were ready for the next trial. Once again, they initiated the sequence, and the holographic display lit up, showing the hybrid cell beginning its process. This time, the replication was smoother, each division occurring with a remarkable level of stability. Isaac's heart pounded as he watched the cell progress through each stage, the data showing no signs of degradation. Hours passed, each moment an exercise in patience and hope. Finally, the process completed successfully, and the hybrid cells held their integrity. Isaac and Lyra exchanged a look of triumph, unable to contain their excitement. They had done it. Isaac quickly assembled the crew and the Elra leaders to share the news. As he explained the breakthrough, a wave of emotion swept through the room. For Serafina and her advisors, it was a moment of profound relief and joy. For the human crew, it was the fulfillment of a mission they had embraced against all odds. The room erupted in applause, a shared celebration of the accomplishment that had once seemed impossible. As the realization settled in, the implications became clear. This hybrid project was more than a scientific marvel. It was a symbol of hope, of the power that lay in collaboration and trust. The hybrid cells would soon begin to develop, nurtured in a controlled environment where both human and Elra scientists would monitor their progress, ensuring their growth was stable and healthy. In the days that followed, the excitement and pride were tempered by the careful, methodical work required to guide the cells through each phase of development. The Elra and human teams worked in unison, taking turns, supporting one another, and sharing insights. The hybrid cells grew, evolving into the first glimpse of a new generation, a tangible representation of the bond forged between Earth and Elra. As the hybrid development reached its final stages, Jax, Serafina, Isaac, and the rest of the crew gathered in the observation chamber. On the other side of the glass, they could see the tiny form of the hybrid embryo, a life that carried within it the potential to reshape both their worlds. For the humans, it was a moment of triumph. For the Elra, it was the embodiment of their ancestors' hopes. As the group stood in reverent silence, Serafina placed a hand over her heart. "This life, it is a gift, a legacy that our people will honor for generations to come. It is proof that even in our darkest hour, we can find a way to endure." Isaac, his voice filled with emotion, added, "And for us, it's a reminder that the universe is vast, full of mysteries we have yet to understand. But one thing is certain, there is strength in unity, in the courage to reach beyond what we know and embrace what is possible." Matt Alvarez, ever a linguist, stepped forward, his voice reflective. "We are more than just two species, we are now a single story, bound by this life. It's a story of resilience, of finding common ground even when the differences seem insurmountable." As they left the observation chamber, the group knew that their mission had achieved something far greater than any of them had expected. They had not only answered a plea for help, but had forged a connection that would endure through the ages. The hybrid project was a success, but its true legacy would be the understanding, respect, and unity that had blossomed between two worlds. As the crew of the Odyssey prepared to return to Earth, they did so with the knowledge that their journey would be remembered not as an isolated mission, but as the beginning of a new chapter in the galaxy's history, a chapter in which humanity and the Elra stood side by side, bound by hope, resilience, and the promise of a future shared. And as they lifted off from Elra's surface, they looked down at the vibrant green planet, knowing that they were leaving behind a part of themselves, woven into the story of a world that, in its time of need, had found new life. The journey home was filled with a quiet sense of accomplishment, the knowledge that they had forever changed the course of two civilizations. For in the vast expanse of the universe, they had found a home not just in the stars, but in the hearts of those they had come to know as friends.